This should have been, like I said, it should have been done a long time ago. This is one individual, man, that has left a mark on this community for years. For years. I know if you've ever been here, first of all, you ain't gonna go in here for 5 minutes. You may go in here for five minutes to buy something, but after that, he's gonna take you back to the back room. And he's gonna educate you and I think prepare you for this work that you're doing out here in this community. I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, this man means a lot to me. And I don't think I would have ever started my organization if it wasn't for Marshall Taylor.
I pray everybody is well. It's kind of hard for me, as Willie said, I mean, to come here and stand here and do this. Because Mr. Taylor meant so much to me. He seen me when I was out in the world wild, doing things that was unlawful. He never judged me. He pulled me in, like Willie said. We had conversation. He became acquainted with my family, my mother especially, and he seen the transition, because he helped make that transition possible, because he allowed us into his establishment. This is one of the first places we started when we started building the study group here. We've done it here in this building for a number of years, and he was so kind to where he forced us out. He forced us out so that we can take on the responsibility of doing something for self. You know, I don't really have the words to really express just how much he meant to me and how much this community means to me, and the changes that I see that's going on in the community. Some are good, some are bad, you know, but for the most part, I just want to express my love for Mr. Taylor, his beloved wife, and the community. And what we're going to do is, would you hold this for me, beloved? We're going to do the libation first and foremost for the ancestors. If I stood here and went through all the ancestors that we give a libation for, we'd be here all day. But we know those that struggle for us. And it's time for us to be able to get here, even all the way to the point to be able to just vote, to be able to use certain things and words and love and expression to one another. And there's people here that I see that then made a dent in this community. However we might feel about one another, we don't have nobody but each other. So I believe in my heart and soul, we have to be an atonement towards one another and looking for each other for what we are capable to do for each other. So with this, I offer this to the ancestors that struggled for us throughout the 460 plus years that we've been here. And I give this to those that have been in the political life, that have struggled for a change for this particular part of the city. And I give this for the bookstore that have really changed this community based on us coming together. And when we come in here, we don't leave like Brother Willie said, we leave with some knowledge. And Mr. Taylor, I have to give this to him because out of everything he ever done, he made his point. And he gave his time. He gave his effort to anybody. He didn't make no difference between anybody. When you came in here, he gave his all and his all. And that's how he left us. So I pray each and every one of us keep a place in our heart for him and continue to help our beloved sister as she struggled with the absence of her husband. May Allah continue to bless you, guide you, and protect you with the light of understanding. Assalamu alaikum.
First, I want to thank Annette Green Taylor and Black Men United for inviting me here today. I also want to thank Black Men United for providing my airfare. I greatly appreciate that. In 1973, 50 years ago this August, I visited New York City for the first time. The first place I visited was the African National Memorial Bookstore in Harlem, New York City. Started in 1932 by founder Louis Michel, National Memorial was the largest black-owned bookstore in the world. They had a jaw-dropping 200,000 books. in stacks on the floor, on tables, books as far as the eye could see. They had wall shelves that reached almost 20 feet up from the floor with rolling ladders for staff and customers. What I witnessed that day was the single greatest display of black books in the 20th century. Louis Michaux envisioned a central location where every book written about black people by black people could be found. Not only books about Africa, but about the entire African diaspora, the millions and millions of descendants of the African people sent away as slaves to South, Central, and North America, Caribbean islands, Pacific islands, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Europe. The African National Memorial Bookstore building signage read in giant lettering, "The House of Common Sense and the Home of Proper Propaganda, the world history book outlet for 2 billion Africans and non-white people." Marshall Taylor planted roots from the National Memorial Tree of Life and made them grow in North Omaha, Nebraska, one of the whitest states in America, with one of the smallest populations of black people. What were the odds of him succeeding? That was about as likely as a little black boy named Malcolm Little, also born in North Omaha, growing up to be the great Malcolm X. The Aframerican Bookstore succeeded because of its enduring love for this community. When people needed a clean, quiet space to meet and discuss community issues, the Aframerican Bookstore community room was always available. Annette created numerous book clubs for adults and children. One of those adult book clubs just celebrated its 20th anniversary. So the next time you are in Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, Denver, Seattle, San Francisco, cities with far greater black populations than North Omaha, go try and find a black-owned bookstore. Most of the cities I just named don't even have one anymore, or the ones that exist are struggling to stay alive. You need to understand today, if nothing else, that the Aframerican Bookstore in North Omaha, Nebraska is now a national treasure. Marshall Taylor's name on a street sign just makes it official. Louis Michaux said that Malcolm X used to come in after hours to study. He said Malcolm X often spent half the night reading books and taking notes. Michaux said he was most proud of giving Malcolm X free run at his bookstore because he said Malcolm X became one of the most brilliant, uneducated men in American history. We all know that, but now you know the rest of the story. Marshall Taylor, 32 years ago, gave me the same blessing. I met Stokely Carmichael at the Aframerican Bookstore. I met Angela Davis at the Aframerican Bookstore. I met some of America's leading black historians and thinkers and activists at this bookstore. I have written stories in the Omaha Star about numerous nationally acclaimed best-selling black authors who came to the Aframerican Bookstore for their book signings. For 32 years, Marshall gave me priceless mentoring as a researcher and an Afrocentric spiritual guide. Annette found every single book title I ever requested, whether it was in print or out of print. Because of this bookstore, I was able to build up my own personal research library to over 1,000 500 books. That's how many books I have taken out of this bookstore. The proudest day of my life as a professional writer for 53 years was shipping cases of my own book, Trust No Shadows After Dark, African American Genocide in the United States of America, to Annette Taylor for sale at the Aframerican Bookstore. The circle was complete. In closing, when I visited the African National Memorial Bookstore in 1973, I stayed in there for almost 7 hours and walked out with 19 books. As a writer, historian, researcher, and social analyst, trust me when I tell you, I've been to the mountaintop. And thanks to Marshall Taylor, Annette Green Taylor, and the Aframerican Bookstore in North Omaha, Nebraska, I never had to come back down. Thank you.
A bookstore is the place where we could spend a lifetime and never exhaust what is in it. So what I would like to say and get across, if I can, we've all got a story to tell. We all have a job to do. We have an obligation to do that job if we're doing it alone. I did it for 46 years, and I used to say, how many people could get up every morning, know he or she would be outnumbered 48-1, and still go down there and survive and master the whole process. You do it with your mind. Words, thoughts are the way we make a difference and a change wherever we go. I have been in situations where the thing that impressed me most was somebody who could put words together, make things clear. Even though they were clear to me, they kind of burnish them and make them even more clear. You'll notice that I was not given a limited amount of time to speak. I'm not going to take very long. And let me say this about Brother Taylor. He and I, many years ago, had conversations, and I haven't talked to anybody in the way that I've talked to him, because I saw him even those years ago as what I would call the keeper of the flame, the knowledge, the wisdom. It's there for you. If you don't want to accept it, that is not his fault, but he made it available. And Sister Annette had the pleasure of being closer to him than anybody else had been. There was an old guy who used to come to the church that I attended. When I attended church, it lasted forever. I think these preachers thought they could become immortal by making their speeches everlasting, and kids had to stay there and suffer for the Lord. But then a wise old preacher came. He mentioned how in his early days he thought that he could be everlasting by making his speeches everlasting. But then he said he came up with a rule. Stand up so the folks can see you. Speak up so the folks can hear you. Then sit down so the folks will like you.
Thank you, Senator Shea.
I'm just happy to be here to pay tribute to my friend for the work he did in this community. I met Marshall Taylor 49 years ago at Creighton Law School. We started together. He had just come out of the Air Force, and we were there our first year together, and then he left and went into something else, and the next thing I know, he was opening the bookstore, and he was reaching out to me and others that had attended school with him, and I was always here to get my research. I was always here to get my clothing, and that would know if I had an African-themed event to go to, I came to the bookstore to purchase my clothing. And I just want to say to this community, we need to continue to support this bookstore. As Brother Brooks said, there are very few black-owned bookstores in this nation. And to have one in this community is significant. And so I urge each and every one of you, this shouldn't be the last time you set foot on these grounds. This shouldn't be the last time you come through these doors. You should come through here regularly. If you really, really want to pay tribute to Marshall Taylor, you'll expand your mind by coming in here and acquiring the knowledge that he made his point to make available to you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to say a few words for my friend.
So I grew up down the street here near 30th and Charles Street. And I went to the Boys and Girls Club after school and to the summer camp at Augustana Church. And then to Andy's and Lily's Corner Store for candy and snacks on the way home to Grandma's house. However, I didn't venture to this place until I was in college, trying to understand where I came from and where in the heck I thought I should be going. Something Brother Marshall said during a Channel 22 interview and tour of the bookstore was that creative development comes from a person becoming conscious of oneself. And he always had a way of reminding you how to do that by recommending the first perfect book just for you. And for me, it was this book right here, Nile Valley Civilizations, and it sits prominently still right here in the middle of this bookstore. I remember how he subtly pointed it out to me during one of my visits. I showed up to get something entirely different when he would say, "Hey young sister, you might enjoy this one here," and point to it and then walk away. It turns out that this particular book was a necessary complement to the things that I was learning at UNO in the Black Studies Department. And also during that time, as an undergrad, I witnessed Brother Marshall lead by example in his service to the community. He once allowed me to host an outdoor garage sale right here to help fundraise for the African American Student Organization so we could go to a national conference. Meanwhile, he allowed a local author book signing on the other side of the parking lot at the same time. Then later, as I grew in my own community to serve, I watched him lead by example at the many board meetings for the Malcolm X Foundation and simultaneously fixing a broken shelf or a door hinge. I'm sure other people here can add to the list of other selfless things that he did to help advance Black people, anyone that he came in contact with. He never stopped giving or teaching or serving or leading. That's the kind of leadership that I grew up with in my early adulthood, and truthfully, that's the kind of leadership we still need today, especially in the example of a Black man who is present in North Omaha. Keyword present. So now that Brother Marshall has transitioned and left plenty of examples of how to do the work, I ask, where are the rest of you in the community who are ready to lead by example and show this next generation how to bring us up to a new level in service and conscious leadership for the Black community? It's our turn now to carry this torch.
Listen to me, one thing I want to say before I talk about Brother Taylor. There's some things going on in this United States of, I would say America, but I won't say that. There's some things going on in the United States right now that all of us out here, white, Black, Mexican, Indian, and all races, better be cognizant of. Books are being banned, y'all. Y'all don't have me now. Books, what we're talking about here, are being banned across the United States. In Missouri, they closing libraries and they won't fund them. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? We here talking about education, getting our brothers and sisters to get a little knowledge, but these people are stopping knowledge. 90% of the books that's being banned is about African American history. African Americans, y'all better talk, you better listen. Y'all better listen, because one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be talking about Brother Taylor in the street here named after him, but you're going to say, well, what happened to the bookstore? Them people said there were too many bad books in there. We can't let our kids go in there. Do you understand? Knowledge is being suppressed in the United States of America right now. Suppressed, shut down. And we are sitting here, won't go vote, won't tell your family to go vote, won't tell your family members to get involved. You sitting by doing nothing, and you come here and say we're going to take the marker off the thing and honor Brother Taylor. Brother Taylor spoke to me the other night. I talked to the dead, the spirit. Y'all might not understand me now. I'm from Alabama. I don't deal in the witchcraft now, but I do deal with the spirit beyond. Because our ancestors come back and let us know what we doing and what we not doing. Y'all better listen to your heart. Because somebody's talking to you and you ain't listening. There's things going on, you better wake up. You better know what you're talking about and know what you're doing out here. And don't be afraid to confront someone when you know they're doing wrong. And I don't care what color they are. You can't let nobody keep stepping on you, walking on you, acting like you don't exist in this world. That's what Brother Taylor and I would talk about things like that. And he said, Brother Clark, you all right. I said, Brother Taylor, you all right too.
Wow. Thank you so much, Danny.
You know, how in the world could you ask anybody to be brief in this occasion? So we do it out of respect.
Thank you.
Because I got 20 minutes in me about Marshall and what he was. Let me just say, I go to gatherings every week, Ernie, but never lately have I been in a place where Ernie Chambers is here, Walter Brooks is here, Willie Hamilton is here, my brothers in the spirit are here. Annette, you should be proud. I see Elijah. So many. Gainey, you don't see all of us in one place. Precious. We come here out of honor of a man that was as much of a community himself as we are in the community. Marshall was like one of these trees. He was anchored and rooted in this community, and we all, to some degree, were his branches. He meant so much to so many of us. We're so proud to have his name up, but we have him in our hearts.
Always.
And so I honor you, and that you are the new Marshall to us. The bookstore is as much to us as it is the books that are in it. I was underline whoever said, I think it was you, Brenda, that don't make this occasion the reason why you come here. You need to come and expand your knowledge and pay respect to Marshall in so many ways. I teach Black Studies at UNO, and I buy my books from that way. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to buy your books from UNO to sell to your students. I buy my books here to sell to my students. Yeah. And so each one of us have an opportunity to step up. And we can step away, but to step up is really what we ought to be about. So be proud of yourself and be proud of this space and wherever the sign is going to be. And thank you for the space. I know it was not on the program. This gentleman here, Willie, I'm going to have him just come up. Willie.
Thank you, brother.
His name is Derek Von Vos. Don't sound like he's black, but he is. But he's from Arkansas. He's now an assistant to Jesse Jackson and travels the country. He just left Tennessee working with the Tennessee 3. You know about that story. So I just wanted y'all to see him and greet him afterwards. I asked him to come. He was down eating at the new Fairdale restaurant at Jackson. You got to go down there and support that. But thank you, Willie, for the space.
Today is a celebration of a man whose vision was to bring books, knowledge, and learning to this community. Because he understood the power of books. He understood that books are transformative. When you read books, you can change your thinking. And those books will also change your thinking and also allow you to change your condition and your situation in life. And I know that if Marshall Taylor were here today, he would want everyone that's here to leave here resolved and committed to spend more time in their daily lives reading books about their history and culture. Thank you very much.
You know, a boy's first teacher, first accountant, first mentor, first everything was my dad. I remember my first classroom was Kaleidoscope. We used to watch Mr. Ernie do his thing. He rough too. You was rough on him. You know. But, you know, through all these years, my dad taught me so much. And one of the things that I always remember is it takes a great follower to learn how to be a leader. I didn't never know what that meant. I'm like, I ain't following nobody. I ain't, you know, that don't mean nothing to me. Until I got older and I realized that I still needed his guidance through everything in order to become myself. I didn't need incarceration to reform. I needed the community. I didn't need some structure, environment to tell me who I was. My dad did. All the education that he's put into all of us, I'm sure y'all got a lot of it, but I used to hear it every day. Oh man, he long-winded. I remember late nights, I'm up, he talking, and he said, "Why your eyes getting glazed over?" I'm tired. I'm tired. Did you get your homework done? I was going to do it, but he started talking for it. Dang. You know, but I don't think we could ever give him his just due for what he's done in the community. As well as, see, as far as community activists, him and Mr. Chambers are neck and neck. I look at them in the most similar light. Like nobody could never take away the pioneership that they brought to us. And I just want to thank everybody for coming out and let you guys know that I appreciate everybody for y'all support with my mom and still coming through and supporting the business. Now they open Wednesday through Saturday from 10 to 5. Come support. I don't care if you come by or a book. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
This was my home growing up. When the projects was right there, it was across the street thugging, and it was just a blessing that Mr. Taylor was right here. Yep, the projects, I was used to that. See, I didn't even slavery. But anyway, he was right here, and I remember coming over here, and you know, the bookstore is in place, and you know, I already had a thing for reading, you know, but he started introducing me to these books, and I would take them home and try to break them down and understand them. I'm like, this stuff is just way too far advanced for me. And I would come back and he would break it down, and we'd sit there and we'd break the book down, and I started understanding like, wow, this is everything. It's everything that's in contradiction to this real life experience I'm having across the street in these projects, you know what I'm saying? Because of the disconnect. We have forgot who we were as a people. Those books he had in here talking about ancient Kemet, Egypt, whatever you want to call it, that's what fueled me to stand up and become this unapologetic black woman that I am. It made me put my people in front of myself. So when I move, like people ask me right now, what's your pronoun? My pronoun is we, us. Because it's we the people, and it's all about us. You know, so that's my pronoun. It's not about me, it's about us. And I learned that from Mr. Taylor, because he was here in a selfless state of being. It wasn't about him or making a little money. It was about how can he improve this community? How can we stay together? How can we teach generation to generation, you know, this information that got lost in the transatlantic slave trade? You know, we got too many people walking around here with shackles on their minds. And that's what Mr. Taylor taught me, the miseducation of the Negro. You know what I'm saying? And I realized I'm that miseducated Negro. And I came right up in here and got educated. And now everything I do is about our people. And I can say Mr. Taylor, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Taylor all day, but we can't say Mr. Taylor without Miss Annette. Because Miss Annette, as we all know that when you do anything, you know, and the community's calling your name, begging for your attention, your spouse got to be in support of that. For Mr. Taylor, for Annette to allow Mr. Taylor to take us in the back room and educate us for 5 hours at a time and stuff like that. Thank you, Miss Annette. Thank you for sharing your husband with the community. We really appreciate that. And as a lot of folks have said, the bookstore is open. I remember during COVID when it was closed, everybody, when the bookstore going to open back up? Is the bookstore open? Yes, the bookstore is open. Annette is sitting up in here. What was those hours, Cameron? 10 to 5? Wednesday through Saturday, she right here. Come support your own people. I tell you right now, anytime I go to an inner city, one of the first places I want to see before the mall is the bookstore. Where is your bookstore at? Because that's the heart of the community. We have to be educated. We have to know who we are, because we are so much powerful than the narrative presents. We are all that, black people. And I need y'all to stand up in y'all greatness and come support this bookstore, because that's what Mr. Taylor was all about. He wanted us to know how great we were. I got the memo. Annette is right here. Y'all can come get the memo, okay? It's still here. But that's all I want to say. I love this place, and I want to see it, you know, stay here. I will go a little deeper about how some of these businesses that used to be lined up here is gone. But however, somebody unapologetically said, I'm staying. And that's what we got to do. We got to stay. We got to stay. We got to put our people first. Before you, us. Don't forget that, y'all. So imperative.
All right. So as Washel shared, Mama Annette and Brother Marshall have been like an extra set of parents for me. This bookstore that they held open for our community was like a stable home and like a safe haven. So they created this store, and the bookstore isn't just a place where you come and purchase a product and leave. It's a space where we are enlightened, a place my children have grown up in. He created this experience with imagery to trigger our subconscious. Brother Marshall would challenge our perspectives and challenge us to be the best versions of ourselves so we could contribute to our best collective self. He held this space for community. Brother Marshall sent books into the prisons and faithfully educated the young and old about the Omaha too. He was the sole promoter of the poetry book called The Black Man Was an African Cat by Brother Mondo, and Brother Marshall's store was where we could find the Harambe Flames and the Omaha Star. He literally was a bridge of communication for parts of our community that would have otherwise been disconnected. I have many memories of Brother Marshall that I can share today, but one that I know I can share with, one experience I know I share with a lot of people here and a lot of people my age, is being in that study room and seeing the masters and the historical figures framed around the room. And Brother Marshall would say, I have something to show you. And he would sit me in front of that little gray TV and take down one of those VHS tapes and pop it in. And it'd be a lecture by a grandmaster like John Henrik Clark or Dr. Ben, and he would leave me there to listen for the information that I needed to know. And while he would go and fix something. From his funny side to his technical discipline side, I am ever grateful for the privilege that it was to experience Brother Marshall Taylor. So I've written a poem that I'd like to share with you to that creatively expresses that. Heart space immense and open, eyes like the northern star. Your hands hold the tools, your mind a treasure chest of solutions. Framing creations with military precision. Your crown and heart don the Adinkra of Kobin. Triggering the awakening of the warriors who lay eyes on you. Your lips are like 10,000 smiles, and any words spoken are chosen purposefully. Never lecturing with many words, you told me to start from the beginning. Preferring to point me to myself, to open the portals to my own inner spaces, to point me in the direction of my own discoveries. You raised and connected the voices of those silenced behind the wall, a true revolutionary. By the turning of pages, you set the captives free. You taught me not to call our ancestors slaves and that the black man was the African cat. Pointed me to African origins of civilization and helped me see that I am a sacred woman. You moved with the discipline and tenacity of Brother Malcolm. Through you, the ancestors and elders poured into me. We envisioned monuments we built together. You are the epitome of service to the community. You gave us protection and covering. You taught the miseducated, recovered stolen legacies, imparted the Metu Neter of the Nile Valley on my subconscious desires to know. Taught me to say less and strive to show. Taught me that they came before Columbus. You modeled powernomics. You are a humble giant moving in peace. We remember you. We honor you. Brother, elder, my Baba, Marshall Taylor, our ancestor. We love you.
Wow. Yeah, whatever. You read that, man?
In honor of Mr. Marshall Taylor and his work in the community as an activist and his focus being on Black excellence in education and true telling of our story and American history.
So I wanted to give that to Marshall, but I think it's in the best place now. Anyway. So
Thank you.
So this is not about Black Men United. This is not about anything other than to pay homage to a man that I love and was a mentor to me. So I'm gonna get out the way, man, for I have to tear up.
I would love to thank everyone who showed up today for this occasion. I want to thank the creator. Such a beautiful day today. Willie, I know you've been at this for a while, but I finally flowed with you. We're good. Thank you so much. To all the family and friends that are here, you might know my husband as Brother T, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Marshall, whatever you call my husband. I appreciate you all for coming out to support this occasion.
I call him Pops.
And you might call him Dad. I have the honor of calling him my husband, and I am honored to be his wife. And I thank you all for coming out. And he's right here with us. We're home! Come on! We're home!
Marshall Taylor!